Hey guys, Alex from 7th Hour Films back again with Mob Psycho 100. Last time around we had Idiots Only event. Kin. So basically, there was a whole thing of this dude who was beaten up by this guy named Teru, and he wanted to have somebody else beat him up, so he tricked the Body Improvement Club into fighting him. However, Teru has psychic powers and beats up the Body Improvement Club with his psychic powers, and then Mob is like, yo, you probably shouldn't do that. And so now there is a conflict between Mob and Teru. So, yeah, also Dimple's there. So, yeah, that was pretty much it. So, why don't we just go ahead? Like always, the reaction is down in the description and in the pinned comment for your viewing pleasure. So let's go ahead and jump right into this episode of Mob Psycho 100. Here we go.
If everyone is not special, maybe you can't be what you want to be. So let's no
Huh. What a fucking great show. Man. I love that this show just, like, goes heavy immediately, while also still being kind of ridiculous, you know? Like, there's still a lot of goofy stuff happening, but at the same time, like, no, there's a lot of, like, serious, interesting psychological stuff going on, and I really like that, and I appreciate it. So, there's something else. It's not just when he gets to 100%. There's something else inside of Mob. And I like that. I do kind of like that Ritsu is like, no, that's not, that's not my brother, That's not my brother. That's something else, It's some sort of unconsciousness going crazy. So, yeah. Oh, man. So, we got the fight, Mob versus Teru. That was something, wasn't it? Oh boy. So, here we have the big question. I mean, the big question that can basically be summed up by Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. But also, well, actually, no, this is still Spider-Man, because if you then go to Spider-Man Homecoming, when Tony Stark says, if you're nothing without the suit, then you shouldn't have it, And that's basically it, is that, even though he didn't think he was anything, Mob does have something, At the very least, he has his family, he has Reagan, and he has the Body Improvement Club, people who care about him, which I like that. I'm really enjoying the Body Improvement Club, actually. They're pretty good dudes, And then but with Teru, strip away everything, and they mean everything. And what's he left with? Nothing. You're nothing. You're garbage. But yeah, that was interesting. Now, it's an interesting thing of, who is more correct, should you use your powers because that's what you have, or should you just not try to use your powers? I mean, I think there is a bit of a happy medium between Mob's I want to live without using my powers and Teru's God complex. There's a middle ground somewhere in there, Like, okay, the comparison to a knife is a very good comparison, actually. Because it's not, well, either I kill people with a knife or I never touch a knife, There are uses for a knife, You can cut food with a knife, You can spread butter with a knife, I guess, if you want to, you can do that. You can, cut a rope with a knife. You can cut fabric, cut something else. You can cut a tree. You can carve wood. There are many uses for a knife that don't involve hurting people, And it would be interesting to see if we kind of get something with that with Mob, you know? Because, yeah, that's something, you know? But that's the problem, is that Teru didn't, you know, at first it seemed Teru was just kind of doing that, but as he kept going, then he started to turn that knife against people, you know? So, yeah. So, that could be kind of interesting if we get that for Mob, you know? Like, because, I mean, even back in the day, he would just, you know, use his powers, do a little goofy thing for, you know, for Tsubomi to see and, you know, enjoy, but that's it, you know? But there should be some sort of middle ground, and probably, if Mob had a middle ground, maybe he wouldn't have this problem of, you know, getting to 100% and unleashing his emotions, or whatever this subconscious demon is, you know? More of, honestly, just a figurative demon, honestly. A figurative demon that does sort of take control of him, you know? So, man, and it's also crazy that we've gotten so much of, like, I would say, like, lore and complexity about Mob, and we're 5 episodes into the season. Now, it's a 12-episode season. It's a 12-episode season, relatively short for, well, I mean, it's about a standard, you know, anime season, but not, you know, you'll have other shows like, you know, My Hero or Attack on Titan or something like that that'll have, you know, a season part 1 and part 2, and they'll generally be about 25 episodes long. This seems to just be a standard just 12 episodes per season. So I guess it makes sense, but even still, you know, we're talking about that in terms of the anime. In terms of the manga, though, in terms of, you know, relating this to the manga, you know, let's say this is only 5 chapters in, that's a lot. That's a lot, you know? Like, I'm reading One Piece now. I'm currently reading through One Piece, and I'm enjoying it so far. I've just recently began the second volume, basically, so I'm about 10-15 chapters in, and only now, 10-15 chapters in, is there, you know, what I would consider a threat to Luffy and Zoro. Even though I have to say that the English version, I guess, the Viz Media translation that I got for One Piece does specifically call him Zolo. So I'm like halfway tempted just to say that because that's what I keep reading. But anyway. But yeah, like only like 10 to 15 chapters in, and the fight hasn't even fully started. But finally, we're getting to Buggy the Clown, and I'm like, oh, okay, here's someone who, you know, Luffy can't just take out, you know, easily. Like, this is going to be a bit of a fight for Luffy and Zoro, whatever. So the fact that, like, you know, I don't know what chapter this episode correlates to, but the fact that in episode 5 we're already, like, getting... Not only have we gotten Mob to 100% of his power, what happens when he unleashes his power and his emotions, but we also have something else. We have this, you know, question mark percentage, you know. We're unsure. We don't really know what this is. It's some sort of strange, you know, inner demon, basically, that takes control when he's unconscious, you know. When his emotions reach 100%, but he is not conscious of it, basically. So that's really, really interesting. And I gotta say, the more episodes we get to, the more I am fascinated by Reagan. Because, you know, it's easy enough to write him off as a sort of, like, you know, just a sort of goofy guy, like, oh, he's just using Mob, you know, so he can make money. He's not a psychic, you know. Whenever, like, Dimple's like, yeah, this guy can't see me because he's not a psychic. And he just, you know, easily is like, nope, I can't see him because he's too weak, you know. And we know that Reagan is a bullshitter, you know. And because one thing about it is just because they've actively said that, you know, that we've heard his thoughts saying, yeah, I am a bullshitter, you know. But the interesting thing is, even if he is a bullshitter, he does know what he's talking about, you know? He does know what he's talking about. He does understand these spirits, you know? And he understands Mob, honestly, you know? Like, when Mob was going through everything with Dimple originally in episode 3, and you know, he goes back to Reagan, and Reagan basically is like, well, don't worry about it. You're fine, you know? Like, he was just kind of, you know, he was trying to blow smoke up your ass, you know? And here it's the same way that Reagan was the one who taught him, hey, you can't use your powers on people, you know? Because, you know, your powers, while yes, they are a gift, yes, they are incredible, they are dangerous, you know? And it's the same thing as a knife, you know? And he said, a knife can be used for so many things, but what do you not use a knife for? And Mob responded, you don't turn it at people. You don't point a knife at people. And Reagan says, okay, you do get it. That's good. So honestly, like, that just adds more to the intrigue of Reagan, honestly. Like, what I could think now, because, you know, Dimple had some power, but that was also just because he was a spirit. So he looks at someone like Mob and is like, oh, you should be using your power for so much more. Reagan, I'm going to go ahead and make a theory that Reagan used to have powers, you know, and maybe he went through some sort of character arc. Maybe he did, you know, sort of use his powers incorrectly, and maybe that cost him, you know, maybe he went too far with his powers, similar to Teru, and that cost him everything he thought he was, you know, and it's that basic thing of, you know, if you're nothing without your powers, then you're nothing, you know, and so Reagan understands, and this is all just my theory, I think that Reagan understands because he knows what he has lost, you know? And so he probably looks to Mob, even though, yes, you know, he's trying to make a quick buck off of this. He probably looks at Mob and is like, I don't want that. I don't want what happened to me to happen to him. Now, that's my theory. 5 episodes in, that's my theory about Reagan. We'll have to see if that's true, but it might be, and that's really interesting, you know? So, and I like that, again, because they introduce him as a bullshitter. But even if he is, there is some stuff he knows about. There is some stuff he understands, you know? So I really enjoy that, you know? And yeah, we got, man, just the reveal. And again, just the fact that this is episode 5 blows me away. Like, I am genuinely astonished by this show, you know? Just not from the story plus the animation that we've had since the beginning. It's like, man, this is crazy, you know? This show is crazy, and I really, really enjoy it, you know? And yeah, strip away everything, and Teru is nothing. Nothing. But Mob has people. He has his family, he has Reagan, and he does have the Body Improvement Club. They're definitely they're practically actual Giga Chads, you know? Like the friggin' bodybuilder Giga Chad. They're basically that, but I love, this is basically a tangent about Giga Chads. I love that, I feel like recently the term Giga Chad has now been applied to like really wholesome masculinity, you know? Like, it's not, you know, it was, I feel like a Chad was supposed to be like, you know, like, oh, here's this, you know, big jock named Chad, and he's, you know, this big masculine dude, but I love that it's skewed away from, like, basically toxic masculinity, and now it's very wholesome masculinity. It's like, yes, you can be masculine, you can be a jock, you can be a Chad, you can also be a really good dude while you do it, and honestly, the Body Improvement Club, and I'm going to say to an extent Reagan. I'm going to say Reagan, to an extent, is a bit of a Chad. Just a bit. Just a little bit in the way he teaches Mob. But everything else, I mean, he is a con man. But he's a con man with a heart of gold, I'm going to say. So, yeah. So, very, very interesting stuff. And again, I'm also really enjoying the brother, too, Ritsu. Like, he's really interesting. And I'm glad, because, you know, we had that little thing of like, oh, could he be jealous and stuff? But you know, last episode we had that sort of understanding of like, well, he has things that Mob wishes he had, and Mob has the psychic powers that Ritsu wishes he had, you know? So there is, and I think he does acknowledge that, but he is genuinely worried for Mob. and definitely, you know, when he sees, you know, that thing on the news, like, oh, you know, things flying into the air, he's like, okay, something happened to my brother. But I like how, you know, I don't know, like, I feel like in any other show, it'd be like, oh, you know, my brother, he's actually a demon or something. But I like how he says, that's not my brother. Like, he clearly acknowledges something within my brother is wrong, but that's not my brother. That's not Mom, you know? So I really enjoy that. Like, that's also really, really interesting. So, yeah. So, again, really, really, really enjoying this show, and I can't wait to see where we are going from here. But that is basically it. With all that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist for all of my Mob Psycho 100 reactions, as well as another video you can go click on if you want. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.